So we've been going over the Inferno event, but I know it's been out of order, guys. This is one of those ones where I have issues here and there. I don't have the full Inferno event. And unfortunately, I've been trying to get Fall of the Mutants and Inferno from my local library. And I think no one's going to return them, because every time I go to put them on my hold list, it says all copies checked out. And that's been almost 2 months now. So with that said, once I eventually go through Inferno, I will put them in order so you guys can check it out that way. But until then, we are going over X Factor issue 39. This, from what I understand, is the finale. I believe we did go over 38 with the death of Madelyne Pryor. And this book, I gotta say, in terms of X-Men mythos and saying key issues, this is a very much slept on particular piece of history. So with that said, what am I talking about? Let's dive into Ashes to Ashes. This is Louise Simonson writing, Walter Simonson pencil, Al Milgrom doing the inks, Joe Rosen doing the lettering, Gregory Wright doing the colors. And the print date on this was, oh boy, sideways. My eyes are not what they used to be. April 1989. And so in the fall of Madelyne, Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters fostered the young mutants who are the present members of X Factor and then the X-Men. Now, most members of both teams have fallen. The school's been destroyed, and Mr. Sinister, leader of the Marauders, stands triumphant amidst the rubble, clutching Jean Grey, his prize. Between Sinister and his goal stands a trembling figure. Ignore Longshot Polaris. He is hardly worth your effort. Kill the others as I've commanded. No! And that's the way you open an issue, guys. I mean, right off the bat, instant drama. And one thing that I've always enjoyed about Longshot from when he first came onto the scene, all through the Australian years, and this, people really underestimate him. Come, Longshot. Admit it. Polaris not need destroy you, for you've already destroyed yourself. You crouch there, trying to prove how brave you are. But that is not a pure motive. Your power, your luck won't save you or them. How'd you know? Know thy enemy. I've made a study of you all. I feared you all were dead, and that I'd be denied the pleasure of killing you myself. He's right. I let myself be mesmerized by a demon. Under his influence, I did evil. My motives are fear and rage. I've lost my luck. And because of that, my friends will die. And this is one of the few times where, even during the prelude that we went over to the Extinction Agenda, when they were fighting the magistrates, Longshot still always had that pep in his step, just very positive. And here, for once, we actually see him vulnerable. And all of his other victims, he'll win again, but only if I let him. I can save them, I must! And so we actually see him grow a little bit. But in the midst of it all, we see Scott get up, drop her Sinister. Make me. My optic blast. I can't fire my optic blast. Why? And I just love the use of this old school traditional artwork. We just get that thin little thing, and we just see like his visor flashing out. Because you're a sissy, Summers. You always were a sissy. I'm not. I'll make you drop her. Try. And this is one of those books that really makes you stand on the edge of your seat, because the team defeated, doing what they can, all affected by the demons from the Inferno fight. And even Rogue tries to drain Mr. Sinister, which I will say, says, I'll drain you, sugar. See? It's like, help me out here, guys. This is one panel that I will say throws me a little bit, because Rogue's unable to absorb people, A, when they're clothed, and B, she's wearing her gloves. So A, I know Mr. Sinister, one of his abilities, like Apocalypse, is able to morph. So is his armor? because, you know, he has the neck opening where you see his chest. But is it something like it's bonded to him because Nathan Essex was, you know, into that whole biotechnology nano stuff? So touching him, it just kind of throws me a little bit that was a really weird choice. I absorb you. I become you. Your mind. Hang on, Rogue. Let me get Jean away. You absorb me, child. Never am I strongest. By far the dominant personality. And I've become you. An interesting change. This, a powerful body. And I love back in the day when they actually made Sinister a debonair villain. Like, you knew he was a threat, but he always had this kind of Sebastian Shaw, hellfire debonairness about him. And that's why, particularly, I know I rag on this a lot, but we are going to go there tonight. Krakoa. They made him into, oh, look how flamboyant and funny I am and how crazy I am. And they also did that to Black Tom Cassidy. I mean, if you go back to the early Claremont Byrne days and even his time in Liefeld and Nikisia's X-Force, Black Tom Cassidy, like Sinister, was another one of those very debonair villains where you loved to hate him. And so, again, he went batshit crazy in Krakoa 2, where he's like, oh, look at me, I'm so crazy and I talk to trees. It's such a bastardization of those characters. So going back to this, see how Rogue tries and he goes, I'm the dominant personality. On your knees to me, your master. Foolish child. Will you never learn? You. Sweet heaven, I remember now. I know. And this is what I mean when I said that this is a slept-on part of X-Men mythos. So we understand how Alex and Scott were separated. His father pushing them from the plane with the single parachute. But here, I was young in a hospital. I think I heard a voice calling, and I opened my eyes. And I blew the hospital roof off. You said, how wonderful, child. How deadly. But we can't allow that to happen again. Can we? And when I woke next, a year had passed. They said I'd been in a coma. But I wasn't in a coma. It was you. Finally, you realized the truth. Your conditioning was more effective than I had expected. Think, Scott. Surely now you can remember. I remember my parents' plane exploding in flame. They pushed me and Alex out the door. You used your optic blast instinctively, Cyclops, for the first time to lessen the impact of your fall. A burst of mutant power registered on my sensors, and I knew where you were and what you were. And your little brother, Alex, was a bonus. Now, again, going back, kind of going off on an anecdote here, but let me finish my thought real quick because you guys know that I like to get sidetracked. This book goes back and essentially retcons Cyclops' past. I mean, it still keeps what Stan Lee and Claremont Lin Wing kind of drafted, but here they added that was Sinister who had him for a year. And we'll get more into that in just a minute. The anecdote that I want to address here is one thing that's always broken my heart, and I think why I have a soft spot for both Lorna and Alex, is they always get the shit end of the stick, man. I mean, even after Giant Size X-Men, Alex and Lorna quit the team. They wanted to go live a quiet life, and I believe it was in the northern part of New Mexico. Represent. And Lorna got taken, and I think it was from then up until now that she's been a marauder. And that's why I say they've been drugged and torn apart. And it just breaks my heart, which makes them like the most tragic couple in X-Men history. Lorna, Polaris, Alex, you are a hopeless fool, except, as I must, that through Sinister's machinations I am bonded to this body, and Malice and Polaris are now one. And then we're going back to they just kind of give you a moment to finally address Lorna and Alex. Then we go back to Sinister. I had you and Alex transferred to my orphanage. I arranged for your brother to be adopted away from you, though I kept close track of him. I meant to keep you for myself, but Xavier stole you to be one of his X-Men, and so I made a trap. I grew Madelyne in your lost love, Jean Grey's image, and used Madelyne to drive you away from the X-Men and to acquire a child with your genetic potential. So I think at this point, this was probably Louise Simonson, Chris Claremont, and Nasanti's way of trying to retcon Madelyne Pryor. Because I think, from what I remember, I was so starstruck when I first met Chris Claremont. He was kind of going over Madelyne Pryor. And I think he said something to the degree that because they brought Jean back without him knowing, he had to kind of scramble, because initially a Cyclops was supposed to go. Because his idea was the X-Men were going to be a revolving team. So that was always fresh and new and different. And so Madelyne at that point just kind of became excess because they took Scott to X Factor. So he just said, let's just kill her off. And so tragic as Maddie is and how much we all as fans adore her, I at least like that they respected to a degree what she was and what they decided to do, making her a clone of Jean. And I love the way Simonson here shows Madelyne and then switches over to Jean. I was moving in on you in Alaska when the real Jean reappeared and lured you to X Factor. I chose to cut my losses, destroy Madelyne before her uncanny likeness to Jean, down to her very genetic structure, could reveal my existence. And now that also makes me wonder if Sinister was created just for that reason. If more of you guys, if you're a little more versed in the history, let me know. But nonetheless, I love it. My life, my brothers, two women that I loved, have been evil, been destroyed by your evil. Reap now the destruction that you've sown, young Alex, or should I now call you Havoc? I sent you away, but as you see, I could have had you back under my power at any time, but I didn't want you. Your lady love Polaris was of more interest to me, and so I took her instead. And then we get back to Polaris and Havoc. And just the way that Sinister just gets under everybody's skin. You see, my dear Scott, your puny mutants can do nothing against me and mine. You are putty in our hands. Stop toying with them, Polaris. Kill them. And then we get more into, but you caused it. Why can't I remember? Oh, there was damage, Scott. I put blocks on your power until you could learn to control it. And until you learned who was your master. A technical, difficult job. Since your conscious mind could never be aware of my existence, I had to bury the truth so deeply, screen my existence so heavily that even a master telepath could not suspect me. But in the end, you never did learn, neither to accept me or to control your power. Finally, I was forced to resort to physical controls, ruby quartz glasses, which would hold back your optic blasts. And so they also retcon here how Scott hit the ground and hurt himself. So here they're saying that essentially Scott never learned to control his mutant power because he couldn't accept who his master was. And it's just an interesting take on everything that we've known about the X-Men. And of course, another battle ensues, everyone trying to save Jean. And again, just like with the Extinction Agenda, remember where Cyclops basically had to beat sense into Havoc. And he says, I've always had to beat sense into you, boy. And then Havoc here, really odd choice of poses. Well. Look at poor Scott, all helpless. What's the matter, brother of mine? Don't you have any more girls to play with? Did you run out of redheads? Or did you just run out on them? Stop it, Alex. What's the matter with you? With me, I'm not the problem. Sinister's the problem. Look what he did to Madelyne. Wants to do to all of us. You could have stopped him, bro. You could have stopped a lot of things. But you didn't because you're Sinister's little pet. His puppet, his chicken. Cut it out. That plasma stings, but it won't put a dent in me. It just makes me stronger. You want to do some good? Turn that blast on Sinister. Good old Scott, always wanting someone else to do your dirty work. And at that point, it's just a nice little flip where we see, I know that Extinction Agenda comes later, but it's nice to see the little brother beat up on the older brother to finally knock some sense that he's letting Sinister get in his mind and how far Havoc has to push it to finally get Scott to say no. Now, from what I understand, this was supposed to be the end of Mr. Sinister, but we all know comics. But right here, even when you read the Marvel wikis online, it even credits this as the death of Mr. Sinister. But of course, villains come back. But there's a lot of X-Men history in this book, guys. Cyclops' history is retcon. We finally learn the history of Madelyne Pryor, and just so much more. So if you are a huge X-Men nerd like myself, this book needs to be in your collection. And normally I'll say go get the collected trade. No. Go get this single issue because it is that important to the X-Men history. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever you like to get your action figures and comics and grab this issue. If you've enjoyed this review, we would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe, that was when we can upload content. You guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking to you on hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure to the links down in the description. So with all that said, hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.